Aloha, this is Heidi at Easy Peasy. This video is a comparison review of newborn fitted cloth diapers. These are all made with natural fibers, so either cotton or a cotton hemp blend. We'll be taking a close look at how these fitted diapers compare. I will also be doing separate videos that are comparison review of newborn all-in-one diapers and newborn wool diaper covers. So if you're planning to cloth diaper a newborn baby, please subscribe. And if at any point during this video you find it helpful, give it a thumbs up. Included in this review are the Babeegreens newborn fitted diaper, the Luludew size 1 fitted diaper, the Cloth-eez Workhorse in the newborn size, a homemade fitted diaper that I sewed using the Trimsie sewing pattern, a Loveybums newborn small fitted diaper, and an Esembly size 1 inner. We'll start with a general size comparison. If you want to see specifically how these fit on my son, you can watch my separate video where I show him wearing all of them. By far the smallest is the Babeegreens diaper. I was thinking that I might have another small baby, like my second baby. My daughter is small, and so I was really excited to have these teeny tiny newborn fitteds. However, this was pretty much too small on my son from birth. It was the very first diaper he wore, and I was just really worried that it was too tight around his little legs. This is called a newborn diaper because Babeegreens also makes a one size fitted diaper that's very adjustable. However, I think this should really be categorized as a preemie diaper. The next smallest is the Luludew size 1 diaper. And that's because it has a row of snaps that allow you to shorten the rise. Otherwise, it would be very comparable in size to the newborn Workhorse fitted diaper. These are similar size and shape. The only difference is with the Workhorse, you can't adjust the rise any shorter. Then generally, it's not so exact, but the Trimsie fitted diaper, the Loveybums newborn small, and then the biggest is this Esembly size 1, which is not technically made as a newborn diaper. It's meant to fit a wider size range. They say that it starts fitting around 7 pounds, although for my son it started fitting at about 8 pounds, and then it's supposed to go up to 17 pounds. So it's not technically a newborn diaper, so it fits for a longer size range. Babeegreens fit for the shortest amount of time. It was practically too small from birth, although we did use it for a few days. And Esembly fit for the longest time. He can still wear that now at 3 months old and 13 pounds. Here's a look at the thickness. The Babeegreens is pretty trim. The Luludew and Cloth-eez are kind of comparable. The Trimsie is a trim option. The Loveybums is a bit bulky. And the Esembly is pretty trim, especially keeping in mind how big of a baby it will keep fitting on. This is a super trim one, the Esembly baby. As far as what fit under the umbilical cord stump, this one, even without snapping it down, sat way below the umbilical cord stump. The Luludew was one of my favorites right off the bat. I loved that since you could snap the rise shorter, that this worked well with the umbilical cord. With the Cloth-eez, what I was doing at first is I was folding it down and using a snappy. This is easier to do with the no closure option. I have the snap version, but you can get them where there's just no snaps at all. And then it's a little bit simpler if you want to fold down the rise and use something like a snappy or pins to hold it away. But it was pretty quickly that I realized once his stump was starting to heal that I could just have it out at the full rise and it was okay. This one sat nicely low enough. The Loveybums was the one that came the closest to the umbilical cord stump, especially if he raised his legs, it would come up to that area. I was pleasantly surprised that the Esembly baby rise sat low enough to use it with the umbilical cord stump. So basically all of these diapers we were able to use from birth. Now let's talk about the fiber content, or what type of fabric these are made out of, since here at Easy Peasy we're all about natural cloth diapering. This Babeegreens is a cotton hemp blend. They also make these diapers in 100% organic cotton if you prefer that instead. The Luludew is 100% cotton velour, so this one is not organic. This Cloth-eez one is 100% unbleached organic cotton. To show you real quickly, Green Mountain Diapers now also makes an organic bleached white version. So if you prefer something that's faster to prep, that doesn't require as many washing and drying cycles before you start using it, you might want to go with this bleached organic version over the more natural unbleached organic version. I made this one out of 100% organic cotton French terry. However, I wished I had made it out of a softer, more malleable type material, like perhaps an organic cotton velour. The Loveybums is an organic cotton velour, so in contrast to the Luludew being just regular cotton velour. However, this is more stiff of a material. I had really wanted to use these with my second baby, and I didn't even buy one of them because they're quite expensive option. So this time around I was really excited to get to try it, and it just kind of was a bit of disappointment because it wasn't as soft as I thought it would be. The Esembly fitted diaper or inner is 100% organic cotton. This is some sort of woven fabric. It might be a twill. So it's a very different type of fabric, more thin, many layers of thin fabric versus like the velour diapers. Also, Babeegreens is unique in that they use cotton for the thread. So if you're super zero waste and you're planning to later compost your diapers after they're totally worn out, this is something where both the fabric and the thread is cotton, in contrast to most diapers are made with polyester. So if you wanted to try to compost something like this, you'd need to remove the snaps, you'd need to remove that polyester threading first. As far as where the diapers are made, Babeegreens is made in the USA. I believe Luludew and Cloth-eez are both made in Pakistan. This is a homemade DIY one, so I made it right here in the USA. Loveybums is made in the USA. Esembly is also made in Pakistan. So we've got Pakistan, we've got USA here. Let's talk about absorbency. I chose the cotton hemp blend on this instead of just the cotton, since that tends to be more absorbent. However, since we use this for such a short period of time, we didn't really get to test out how well the absorbency works. For the Luludew, there's 8 layers of velour in the main wet zone area, and so I thought that this would be really absorbent. But the more I've experimented with sewing my own diapers, I've realized that velour just isn't really much of an absorbent material. It's great for texture, it's great to be the layer that goes against baby's skin, but it's not super absorbent. Especially with this area is super thick, and then the front panel is a little bit thinner. And with my son, he's really a front wetter, so the front area gets really wet. These did work fine in the size 1 for him when he was really newborn. However, when we sized up to the size 2, the absorbency wasn't as great as I had hoped. Between these two, the Cloth-eez Workhorse fitted is definitely more absorbent. And again, when we sized up and went into the small of the Cloth-eez was more absorbent than the size 2 of the Luludew. This organic cotton French terry was plenty absorbent. The way I have it set up, it ends up being about 6 layers in the wet zone, and I was very happy with the absorbency here. The absorbency was fine on the Loveybums. Nothing really pops to mind too much about that for me on this one. And even though this is a really thin trim diaper, the Esembly, the absorbency's been fine for us on that. And especially too since he's been wearing it for a lot longer. He hasn't outgrown the absorbency. Most comfortable. So I really like the texture of the fabric on this Luludew, the velour. However, it can get a bit tight around the legs. So the legs aren't as comfortable, the material's super comfortable. Overall comfortable fit, I would say that would be the Esembly. It has more generous leg openings. I don't worry so much about this being too snug on his legs. It's not as plush or luxurious, but it's plenty soft enough to go against the skin. One other difference I want to point out real quickly is the way that this Trimsie diaper is made. It's very similar to rolled elastic here. It's sewn right sides together and then flipped to right sides out. So this is very gentle type of elastic to have around the legs. whereas all these other ones are just serged around the legs. So if you have a super sensitive baby where the stitching can irritate their legs, that's something to keep in mind. Let's take a closer look at the snap placement and then open them up so we can see how they look inside. Babee Greens has the umbilical cord snap down. It has 2 snaps on the wings here. And at first I was thinking you would have to snap those 2 snaps like just right next to each other, but then I realized you could put one here and skip one and put the other one here if you wanted to make the waist a bit tighter. Inside it has this extra piece of absorbency, but it's not sewn in, it's not snapped in. You can just lay it in. They suggest you could start out using it without that if this is enough absorbency for your baby, and then you could add this in when needed. For the Luludew, this looks like the tightest, but you could actually snap it to this crossover snap, and that would just be so teeny tiny. I don't even know how a baby would fit into this if they had like that small of a waist. We never needed to use that crossover. There's just 1 snap on each wing on the Luludew, which I like in the sense that it makes it super easy to put it on the baby versus one like this where there's 2 snaps on the wing that both adjust the waist. There is the 1 set of rise snaps. So just 1 adjustment there for the rise. And then this one's sort of unique in that all the absorbency is built in here. There's no tongue, no extra flaps. Because of that, this can take a little bit longer to dry, although velour tends to be a type of material that dries kind of on the quicker side. But just to note, Luludew is actually a cloth diaper delivery service where they deliver diapers and then pick them up each week and wash them. So if you're located in the Southern California area that Luludew serves, I think this would be a great option to get through their cloth diaper delivery service, because then you wouldn't have to wash them. So it wouldn't matter so much that it's kind of a bulky, thick option because they wash them for you. With the Cloth-eez Workhorse, there is again a crossover snap. On my baby, we never had to use the crossover snaps. Each wing has 2 snaps on it. Again, I'm not a huge fan of that, and especially because these snaps on the wing are the male snaps and they're actually kind of sharp. So I would only use it as loose as this setting, but I never wanted to move it out, so only just the 1 snap was snapped here, in which case this snap could hit baby's skin because that just didn't feel comfortable. So I felt like we outgrew this sooner than we should have since we couldn't move the wing out farther. And that's one consideration. You might prefer the version with no snaps that I used with my previous baby and just putting it on with a snappy, because then you can get a more customizable fit where you can move it out as far as you need. And then the extra absorbencies in the tongue sewn in. That does help when it comes time to dry, that this isn't just all built into the middle there. You can kind of open it up. The part that takes the longest to dry is right here where those are sewn together since it's a little bit thick there. The Trimsie diaper, which I sewed myself, I'll link the sewing pattern in the description box below. It's the only one that has the 2 snaps that allow you to adjust the waist separately from the legs. I am a big fan of that type of setup. It's called Trimsie because it's a more narrow option, which again I like, and I also liked how low this sat away from the umbilical cord stump. So I really like this pattern. If you're thinking of sewing your own cloth diapers, you can watch my video where I sewed this up. So once you open it up, it has a whole bunch of options, 4 different settings for how tight or loose you can make it. And then the sewing pattern had various options you could do, and I did 2 tongues of absorbency. This bigger one and the smaller one. And this was plenty absorbent like this, while still being quite trim of an option. For the Loveybums, this is the tightest just like this, but there is a crossover snap. So I guess you could get it super tight there. It's like there's so much bulk inside these diapers, I don't even know how a baby would wear it like snapped crazy tight with the crossover snaps. It's like, where would the baby go? So all of them we started out with without crossing them over. There's 2 snaps on the wings with skipping a space in between the snaps. I'm not a huge fan of that because then when you snap this at the very loosest, this one goes against the baby's skin, but at least this is a more comfortable, smoother female snap, so we did end up using it for quite a while where that snap was touching the baby and it was just on the loosest option. Inside here, this tongue of absorbency can be snapped out for washing and drying. And I think that does help not having this sewn right here because that's the part on the Cloth-eez that takes longer to dry. So I do like that you can completely unsnap that. And for the Esembly, there's no crossover options here. It's just 2 snaps on each wing. I do really like this cool feature on the Esembly where they mark the middle 2 snaps by having this contrasting blue in the center. I think that is really helpful because sometimes with fitted diapers I have to count to myself, like 1, 2, 3, to know where to snap them. So that's a nice visual. On the inside of the Esembly, they've got this cool sewn-in soaker that's still meant to be easy to wash and dry because they've made it kind of butterfly style in layers. So there's layers here, and then the main portion of the fitted diaper. So this is a good one to wash and dry at home. Esembly Baby was founded by the same people who founded a diaper delivery service called Diaperkind in New York. So they do have experience with washing and delivering cloth diapers, but then they made Esembly specifically for people who wanted to wash their cloth diapers themselves at home. So they kept that in mind, and these diapers are a bit different style than the ones that they offer through their delivery service. As far as likes or dislikes, I like that Babeegreens sticks with natural materials. This was just way too small of a diaper, so we didn't really get to use it much. But if you have a super small preemie baby, then I would recommend this. For likes on this one, I'm just a huge fan of cotton velour. I think it's so soft. I made myself some organic cotton velour panty liners to wear while I was pregnant, and basically velour is the fabric I would choose for myself. That's what I really like about this. What I liked least on the Luludew is the fit, that if I put it at whatever setting fit best for the legs, it ended up really loose around the waist, and you can see more about that in my other video. Likes on the Cloth-eez, it's a super absorbent diaper, it's really reliable. Dislikes, I would say that we grew out of it quicker. It fits for a shorter size range than the Luludew ones do, and I kind of wish it had the feature to either shorten the rise or bring the umbilical cord area down. Like maybe if they made the no closure option, but just with the umbilical cord snap down to help with that aspect. Between the 2 snaps or no snaps, no closure, I think I would suggest going with the no closure and then just using your own snappy or pins. You'll get a more customizable fit and it'll be able to fit for longer. Likes, I love the cut of this diaper. I love that it's a trimmer option, narrow between the legs. Dislikes was just my personal fabric choice I used there. Likes on the Loveybums, I like that it's organic cotton velour. I like that their products are made in the USA. Dislikes is this did not end up being nearly as comfortable of a diaper as I thought it was going to be. Between the 2, I actually preferred just the regular cotton velour Luludew diaper. Likes and dislikes on the Esembly, I like that it seems very comfortable. It's one I don't have to worry as much, did he outgrow it, does it no longer fit, so I actually tend to keep it in the diaper bag for that reason. It's just like I know it's gonna work even as he's outgrowing a lot of his other items. Dislikes on it, I didn't fit as soon as the others, but again that's because it's not technically a newborn diaper and that's just the trade-off, that it fits for longer. Now for overall favorite newborn fitted diaper, I actually have 2 favorites. And they're the Luludew and the Cloth-eez Workhorse. The things I prefer about the Luludew is that they have the snap down rise option and that it's made out of velour. The things I prefer about the Cloth-eez is it's more absorbent. It was a better fit on my baby. I didn't have the problem with the gaping around the waistband like I did with the Luludew. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that gave you a better idea of which fitted diapers you might want to include in your newborn cloth diaper stash. Let me know down in the comments if any of these looked like a good option for your family. Please subscribe for more on elimination communication and natural cloth diapering.